Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to Tuesday, the 26th of January's literacy lesson. Hope you're okay and that the start of your week has gone really well. We're going to have a little look at spellings to start off with today. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a little look as to whether there is a rule for our new word list that you were introduced to yesterday. And also, how do we pronounce those words? So let's have a little look at our words then. So we have been introduced yesterday to 10 words that all end in the suffix ious. Okay, now if you add the suffix to a root word ious, you're creating an adjective. And an adjective, as we know, is a describing word. So if I think about ambition, I can, by adding ious, I can create the word ambitious, and I can say that the person worked incredibly hard because they were very ambitious. Okay, or I can say that the frog is an amphibious creature, and there I've got ious added to my root word, and then I am creating describing words which I can use in sentences. So let's have a little look. Is there a rule then? So I'm going to just turn so that you can see the board. Okay. So two suffixes that always form adjectives are ious and eous. No firm rule. So there isn't a rule. It isn't that, if there's a vowel at the end, you add this. There isn't a firm and fast rule. But ious, the one that you have in your spellings this week, is the most popular. Might not be a rule, but there is a rule with pronunciation in the fact that there's two different ways of doing it. You've got ious where the I is pronounced, and you've got ious where it isn't pronounced. So like ambitious here, you don't hear the I. But in curious, which I have at the bottom here, you do. You hear the I in that. Okay, that might give you a bit of a clue as to what you are going to do. So here are this week's spelling words: ambitious, infectious, fictitious, obvious, nutritious, repetitious, amphibious, curious, devious, and notorious. And what you're going to do is you are going to, in your purple book, divide your page into two columns. You only need about 8 lines because we've only got 10 spellings in total. On one side, your first column, I want you to put silent I. On the second column, not silent I. And then you're going to have a little look at those words. If you're a bit clever, you might rewind the video a bit and listen to how I pronounce them. You might go on Edshed and listen to them. Or you might be real clever clogs and know how to pronounce them. And so you're going to put your spelling words from this week into the correct section. Okay? So those that have a silent I, those that don't. Okay? Pause the video. Good luck. Okay, Year 6. Let's see how you've got on then. Okay? So, I asked you to sort your spellings into two columns. Those that have silent I and those that don't. So in your silent I section, you should have ambitious, infectious, fictitious, nutritious, and repetitious. And in your not silent I, you should have obvious, amphibious, curious, devious, and notorious. How did you get on? Hopefully you did really well. Don't forget to send me a pic. All right. You're going to stay with our spellings just for a little while because we're going to have a little look at letter join. Okay. Now, you've been practicing using your words, hopefully, and learning how to use this cursive script really, really carefully and practicing those joins. I want to look at today, focus on one of the letters which are a little bit tricky. And the one I want to focus on is the letter F. And to be honest, I find it a little bit tricky. So we're going to have a little look. We're going to practice. I'm going to show you how to do an F. And then I'm going to show you two of the spellings, infectious and fictitious, which use it. Okay. So here we go. I'm just going to move to where the board is. Okay. So letter F. We start down here in our cursive script. We then go up to create our loop, round, back across, ready to go into our next join. Okay, so let's have a little look again. All right, so I start down here, up into my join, round, up, and there I'm ready to join again. Okay, I'm ready to join. Now, I've done quite big loops here. The example is slightly smaller loop. So I'm going to try and get my loop a little bit smaller so that we can get into the join a little bit better. So let's have a go. So I go here, round, down, up, and there I go. Oh, I think I was a little bit better then. Okay, let's try it again. So I'm starting here, up, down, round, small join. Oh, yes. Mrs. Heavey, I think you've cracked it. Okay, so I want you to practice at least 3 lines of those, because as you can see, my loops here started off really all over the place, and I gradually started to get them much better. And that's what we need to do. Practice them so that you can get them better. Now, let's see if I can write them now in a word. Let's see. So we're going to start with our spelling infectious. Okay, so I'm going to start here for my I. Okay, into my N. Then I'm going to go up into my loop round. Oh, Mrs. Heavey, you're a genius. Okay, and then I can spell the rest of the word. Okay, once I've got to the end, I can dot my I's, cross my T's. Okay, let me do that again. Let's see if I can get it just as carefully done. Okay, so here we go. I into my N, up into my loop, round to my E, T-I-O-U-S. And then once I finish the whole word, I can cross my letters. Now, fictitious will be a little bit easier because it starts at the F starts our whole letter off, a whole word off. So here we go. I'm going to go up into my loop, down, and then into my I, round. Here we go, the rest of the word, and then I can cross and dot where I need to. Let's do it again. It's the F we're concentrating on. Okay, but try and see if you can get all of your small letters the same size, and your ascenders, those the F and the T, those letters the same height. So let me have a go again. Okay, so into my loop, round, into my I, oh, and you'll soon become an absolute whiz at those. Okay, so you are going to have a little go. Do me 2 or 3 lines of F's in your book underneath your spelling words. Then have a little go at a couple of lines of infectious and then a couple of lines of fictitious. And I look forward to seeing how you get on with those. Okay. So we're going to leave spelling and handwriting for a little while. Don't forget you've got a page in your handwriting book and your spelling book to do as well. I should have said that. So here we go. We're going to have a little look now at our comprehension work. And we're going to be looking at book 6, and we're going to be looking at pages 14 and 15, and it's poems today. And so what I've done is I've given you a little bit of a hint of 2 of the things that crop up in today's poetry. So one is a simile. And remember, we compare two things and we use words like as and like. So we might say the tiger's tooth was as sharp as a knife. So I've compared a tiger's tooth and I've compared a knife and I've said as sharp as. Okay. Um, so as or like, simile. And then we've got free verse. Now, free in poetry, lots of times poetry rhymes, or you've got a particular rhyme pattern. So two lines together rhyme, they're called rhyming couplets, or you have alternate line rhyme. So one line rhymes, then the other one doesn't, but the third one rhymes with the first one. Sometimes you get it, the second and the fourth lines rhyme as well. So there's different patterns, but in free verse, there's no rhyme, there's no pattern. Okay. So have a look, turn to page 14 in your book. I'm going to get while you're doing that, I'm going to get the visualizer up so that we can see it. Okay. So, got my poetry book and we're going to have a little look now at the first poem. Now, both of these are about either seasons or they're about a particular month in a season. So we've got one called autumn and then we've got one called January. So this is the autumn one and this is the free verse one. So there's no rhyming pattern and you just say the poem as you would speak. Okay, so season of conkers and fireworks and mallow fruitfulness. Use shoes and a coat that's a bit too big to grow into next year. Blackberries along the canal, white jungles of frost on the window, leaves to kick all the way home, the smell of bonfires, stamping the ice on puddles into crazy paving. The nights come in early and you can't play out after school. Soon there'll be tangerines in the shops in shiny paper like Christmas lights. The little ones write letters to Santa Claus, the big ones laugh under the streetlights. So that poem is about lots of really positive things that there are in autumn, all the things that we like. So it talks about conkers, and who doesn't like collecting conkers and having a game of conkers? Okay, fireworks. And we see those, all around November the 5th. New shoes and a new coat. Why might you need those? I wonder what happens in sort of September time. Why might you need new shoes and a new coat? Wonder if you can answer that one for me. Okay, you got an idea? Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's because we start school, and even teachers have new coats and new shoes to start school. And very often you see us all going around, ouch, 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 because they're hurting us. Okay, blackberries along the canal. It's a time of autumn where you see the blackberries. White jungles of frost on the window. So the frost is all, when I came into the cube this morning, it's absolutely, the windows were all frozen and you could see all that sort of, the idea of the white jungles. It looks like leaves. Okay, the patterns on leaves. Leaves to kick all the way home, all those crunchy leaves, and it is nice to do that, or in the park. Smell of bonfires, that links back to the firework image earlier on. Stamping the ice on puddles, can't speak. Stamping the ice on puddles into crazy paving. So crazy paving is that where it's all, little bits of concrete and it looks, different colours and different sizes. And so it's crazy paving. When you stamp on the ice, it shatters into different sizes, doesn't it? The night's coming early. So think about that. The night's coming early. So it's not very light for long, is it, when it's the autumn? And you can't play out after school. It starts to get dark, and it's getting dark as you're going home. Soon there'll be tangerines in the shops in shiny paper like Christmas lights. I'm sure you know what tangerines are. They're a type of orange, and lots of The poem was written in 1932, and one of the things that people used to get at Christmas time was an orange in their stocking, and it was a big treat for children, sort of at that time, in that particular age. So tangerines. So that's why he talks about those being in the shops. Okay. The little ones write letters to Santa Claus. Of course they do. And I'm sure that you did before Christmas. I know that we did when we were ready for, when we had our Christmas Eve and our Christmas Day. Do you remember? And the big ones laugh under the street lights. So the teenagers are sort of, hanging around under the street lights where it's a bit light and laughing and joking and getting together. Okay, so that's our first poem. Okay. So then the next poem is a little bit different. Okay, it's called January. All right, so this is the poem January. And I'll just make sure that it's clear. There we go. I think you can see it that little bit better now if I turn it so you can see. So it says, January, the days are short, the sun a spark, hung thin between the dark and dark. Fat snowy footsteps track the floor, milk bottles burst outside the door. The river is a frozen place, held still beneath the trees of lace. The sky is low, the wind is grey, the radiator purrs all day. And you'll notice it's an American poem, so grey is spelt differently. It's got an AY, not an EY. So this is talking about a really cold month, January. And it's been quite a cold month, hasn't it, over here? We've seen lots more snow than we've perhaps seen for quite some time. So we've got a rhyming pattern in here, alternate rhyme. So spark and dark, floor and door, place and lace, grey and day. Okay. And it's sort of, again, lots of images. So it's talking about the days being short, so they're not long. Okay, it goes dark early. The sun a spark, hung thin between the dark and dark. So it doesn't look very big. It only looks, it looks smaller in the sky because the sky looks grayer and darker because we've got lots of snow or lots of rain. Okay. Fat snowy footsteps track the floor. So I know it's always fun to when it's been snowing to go and stamp your footprints where nobody else has been. And it's saying fat snowy footsteps because the snow is deep. Okay. Milk bottles burst outside the door, so it's so cold that even the milk bottles, that the milk inside is frozen, and it's cracked. The glass hasn't been able to cope with the temperature. The river is a frozen place, so that even the river's frozen over, held still between the trees of lace. A lovely image there, and think about sort of what the trees look like at this time of year. White, covered in white, they look very delicate, and lace is sort of very delicate, and again it's sort of a white or cream colour it tends to be, and it's sort of they're spread out, the branches are spread out, and they've got sort of that lacy kind of pattern on them where the frost is clinging to them. Okay, the sky is low, the wind is grey, the radiator purrs all day. So the sky is low, meaning that the clouds look as if it's the sky isn't any lower than it is, but because the clouds are there, it does look low. It looks like we can't, it looks like everything's squashing down. The wind is grey, so it's that sort of it's swirling things round, and it's that freezing fog that you can see, that swirl of the fog there. Okay, it's a bit like sort of the pea soupers that they used to get many years ago. It's that really thick grey fog. And then the radiator purrs all day. So you can hear your radiator. You've got it on because it's so cold. Okay, so if we have a little look at what you've got to do today with your questions, hopefully I've given you some clues with going through the poem. So in January, the poet says in line 1 that the days are short. So it doesn't say the same thing in the autumn poem. It doesn't say the days are short, but it does refer to the days being short. And I talked about it, so you might want to pause the video and go back to when I was reading it through and talking about it. It might help you to locate that particular section, okay? And then we started off by thinking what a simile is. And it says, find and copy a simile from lines 1 to 14 of autumn. Remember, you're looking for two things being compared and either the word as or like. Okay, so have a little look. I'm sure you're going to find that really well. And then we talked about the trees of lace. What does the poet mean by trees of lace? I talked about that sort of the imagery of that and talked a little bit about lace. And I want you to have a little go at that and see how you get on. Again, pause the video. You might want to go back, have a little think. What did I say? Okay, have another listen. Okay, so here, um, I want you to have a little look here with why do you think the poem chose the verb purrs to describe the sound of the radiator in line 16? So what I want you to do here is I want you to pause the video, have a little go at that answer yourself, and then I'm going to show you what I think is a good answer to that particular question. Okay, pause your video. Okay, year six, hopefully you have come up with a really good idea, okay, for your answer. So I'm going to get you a little bit closer and hopefully you can see this really carefully. So I will start. The radiator is, okay, so for this one, why does it put? So I'm going to put the radiator is switched on all day and is making soft sounds like purrs. Okay. Now I'd also put that a purr is a warm sound. Okay. It makes you feel cozy. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that I would write particularly in that one because it's a little bit tricky, that question. So you can have a little look at mine and see, you know, have you got something that looks like that? A cat tends to purr, and when it's winter, you'd find your cat, if you have one, they don't stray far from a radiator or a fire. They like to be nice and warm. So then question 5 asks you which poem is written in free verse, and again, we've talked about that. You might want to go back in the video and have a little think about it. Then which do you think is more positive about the season it describes? And explain your answer. Okay. So again, I want you to pause your video now and I want you to have a little go at that. And then I'm going to have a little go at it as well and see if your answer is similar to mine. It's a 2 marker and it's these explain ones. You need to go into a bit of detail. Okay, pause your video. Okay, well done, year six. Right, let's have a little look at the board. Okay, and let's have a little look at here. So I'm going to say that autumn is more positive because it talks only about good things. Okay, so autumn is more positive because it talks only about good things and fun things in the season. Okay. All right, so I've talked about their autumn being it because it doesn't tell you any of the negative things in it. It talks about the positive. Whereas January, if we look at that poem, it talks about sort of the days are short, milk bottles burst, the sky's low, the wind's grey. So it talks about negative things in there. It does say have some positive things in and some lovely things to do with winter, but it doesn't focus. Autumn just concentrates on the positive sides of that. Okay, hopefully you've got just as detailed an answer. And then the last one just asks you to explain what you think is your most which poem you like the best, and to explain. So there, perhaps put some quotes in, perhaps talk about some phrases or words in there that you particularly like. Perhaps it's the images that you like, but again, that one's a 2 marker, so you need to go into that little bit more detail in your answer. Okay, right, we are going to then have a look next thing at our word power work. Okay, so first of all, you are going to turn in your word power booklet today to page 22. Okay, so page 22. And what we're going to look at today is we're going to look at irony. Okay, so you've probably heard somebody say, as it says at the top here, no, that's not what I meant. And then they have to explain themselves more clearly. And that's perhaps because they've been a bit vague, perhaps, or it might be because they've used irony and you've not understood that they're not actually meaning what they're saying. So, for example, sometimes people say the opposite of what it really means. So, the car's broken down. That's just brilliant. It isn't brilliant that the car's broken down. Um, it's the complete opposite, and it's what we call an ironic statement. Okay, so it's not brilliant at all. You're not enjoying it. It's actually the opposite. So have a little. We've got some sentences here, and it says, can you complete these sentences so that they are ironic? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little go at some of these examples, and then you can have a little go yourself in your book. Okay, hopefully I'll give you lots of ideas. So, oh great, we've got 3 pieces of homework tonight. So you don't mean great, great, we've got 3 pieces of homework. You actually mean, oh, we've got 3 pieces of homework. Okay. So, how wonderful. You've forgotten my birthday again. It isn't wonderful that they've forgotten your birthday, but you can perhaps put something like that. And then I love it when the kettle won't work first thing in the morning. Okay, so you don't mean you love it when the kettle won't mean, particularly me when I want a cup of tea. But you sort of, so you're using scenarios and things that you might that aren't great. Okay, so then you're going to have a little go at writing your own ironic sentences about homework and the dentist. So fantastic! I've got to have a filling at the dentist today. Okay, or fantastic. Went to the dentist and now I've got to go back and have a filling. That kind of thing. Or, I've got a homework example in the first one. Okay, so you might want to use that and tweak it for the homework one there. And then finally, you've got a little poem that is very famous from the rhyme of the ancient mariner. Okay, water, water everywhere, but and all the boards did shrink, water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. So you're going to have a little look at that poem. I'm going to ask you to pause the video and then see if you spot the sentence. Okay, see if you spot it. So pause your video now. Okay, year 6. Did you find the sentence? So water, water everywhere, and all the boards did shrink. Sorry, water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. So you should add this part. So a mariner is a sailor, and so what is going on here is he's surrounded by water because he's at sea, but he can't drink any of it because it is salt water. Okay, and so when we come to our explanation, that's what we will write. So here, why do you think the underlined sentence is ironic? So I can say the mariner is surrounded by water, but he can't drink any of it, even though he's thirsty, because it is salt water. Okay, so the ancient mariner is surrounded by water, but he can't drink any of it because even though he's thirsty, because it's salt water, and he certainly can't drink that. Okay, that is our literacy for today. Lots of activities there, and hopefully you will get on really, really well. And I shall see you tomorrow for Wednesday's lesson. Bye, everybody. Bye bye.